Good morning and welcome to Get in Line with me, Lauren Scott. I'm so excited, guys. Rachel is back for 2025. Hey, Rachel.
Lauren, how are you?
Doing good. Doing even better now that you gave me my reading right before we jumped on.
I'm so excited to be here, to be back. Love you, love your listeners, and can't wait to talk about the wild astrology of 2025.
Oh, I cannot wait to hear what you have to say because so far this year has been, I'll just say this bluntly, fucking crazy.
Well, and astrologers around the world, outside of the year 2020, aka late 2019, this is the year we've been yelling about. There is
hmm
more change happening in the sky in a major way, in every way actually, with every single planet in the zodiac, than there has been in about 200 years. So if things seem wild, it's because they are.
Yeah, no shit.
And today, as we speak, we actually have Venus conjoining the North Node in Pisces, Venus retrograde.
Mm.
So definitely some really excellent energy for talking about things, matters of the heart, matters of the spirit, and matters of belief and understanding.
Yes. And I also love, like we were just talking about before we actually started recording, that every time I get you on here, it's either during the eclipse or right after. Like for 2 years now.
Oh, it's so good.
It
It's
is
so
so
good. We
good
just
because
had
I feel like the energy from it just like adds to everything that you bring forth.
And then after a major disruption, we can connect about it and be like, what just happened?
Yeah,
Well,
I
on
know.
March 29th, we had the last eclipse in the Aries Libra axis. And our first eclipse on that axis was in April of 2023. So we are
Wow.
closing down a, year and a half, 2 year cycle of these big changes and disruptions between Aries and Libra, and we are officially switched to the Pisces Virgo axis. We had the first Virgo eclipse earlier in March,
hmm
and it's definitely nice to wrap things up and have our endings, have our beginnings. Granted, that was an eclipse. This last eclipse in Aries, like it's ruled by a Mars in fall, two retrogrades with personal planets, Mercury and Venus. We're in a kind of rough time, so I want everybody to know it's not like a very chill, relaxed space right now, especially because Neptune, the planet of consciousness, awareness, dreams, and potential nightmares, Neptune changed signs and entered Aries legitimately 2 days ago.
hmm
And Neptune takes 165 years to move around the zodiac. It only shifts signs every 14 years. So it's a big deal.
It
It's a
is
big
a big
deal.
deal.
And Aries is the first sign. Pisces, where Neptune was, is the last sign. So not only is Neptune changing signs, but it's completing a whole zodiacal cycle
Do
and
you
the
think
beginning.
do you think that's one of the reasons, like what we were talking about before we hopped on here with my book and putting it out on the time that I did in February and, telling you that it was kind of like the closure of Zindan for me all the way around, like everything that I wanted to put out, I feel like I now have. Do you think that has a lot to do with that 14-year period of coming
Oh,
and
oh,
then releasing?
absolutely. Absolutely. And Neptune through Pisces, let it be known that even though Jupiter rules Pisces, Neptune has an affinity for. It's one of its favorite signs. Neptune is very spiritual, right? Expanded consciousness, expanded awareness. It's a very sort of spiritual, emotional thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
right after you use a psychedelic, for example, it's an awareness level that you couldn't imagine until you did use one. But that planet itself, being in its own really spiritual, potent space, for the last 14 years has brought a lot of people onto the wave of astrology, onto the wave of yoga, meditation, and some of these sort of alternative healing methods. And
Mm-hmm.
now Neptune is leaving that sign. So what we've been for the last month or so, and I'm sure your listeners are going to laugh, it's been maximum saturation with all things spiritual for sure. And now we're about to head into a time where a lot of spirituality becomes more direct, as in more personal. It's kind of like kind of like, hey, my destiny is in my hands. And maybe if I want to know the divine, like I personally should know the divine. Maybe it's not a school or a tradition, but maybe it's just me directly connecting through whatever means are mine.
Mm, I love
And I'm
that.
stoked for that.
Yeah, and I feel like it's happening to you too. You've gone full circle as well.
Oh my goodness, yes. The last 14 years of Neptune through Pisces has hit my few of my planets specifically, and definitely all of the awareness I have of a lot of the intuitive tools that I use have come about in the last 14 years.
Yeah.
And I feel like the next 14 are about me getting bigger and actually really sharing them with the whole collective at large, specifically online.
Yes. And tell
And
people
in
where they can let's use that as the key point of how do people get in touch with you and how do they get a reading? I like to shout that out at the beginning of
Okay,
everything.
you're the best. That's why you do that. So RachelRuthTate.com, Rachel Ruth Tate on Instagram, Rachel Ruth Tate on TikTok. Anywhere there's a platform, if there is a Rachel Ruth Tate, it is me. And you can go to my website, you can book a reading, and I want to encourage your listeners to use the code I love you to get the best rate on their reading for the remainder of this year, for their birthday, for their astrological compatibility, whatever it is. If you want to know how the current weather astrologically is impacting you, I can help you with
Because this girl has just gone professional 100%.
Heck yeah, girl. Absolutely. Aries is my ninth house of publishing and also
Mhm.
of spirituality and higher learning. And I am exclusively working as a professional astrologer. I do all my readings on Zoom. We record them, send them to clients as soon as they're finished. And it felt right. It felt right. And so here we are. That's what we're doing. That's the new paradigm, professional astrologer official.
Whoop whoop. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. I mean, you've known since forever I've been into this.
Oh yeah. Like I mean, how many it's been years. So,
Hmm.
yeah, but
For
it's
those of y'all who don't know, Lauren and I have known each other for years and years through some totally different stuff, but
yeah.
always it's been very meaningful, communal, connective, and spiritual, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We have similar paths from childhood all the way up, which is
Yeah.
always so nice because we're always each other's sounding board for like crazy shit that happens to us, which I love.
Especially Dallas crazy shit, and it
Oh
does. It
God
does.
bless. All right. All right. Back on track. So go use the code I love you guys. Go get yourself a reading. And now let's hear what we've got going for April through September of 2025.
So you and I are recording this on April Fools, but this is absolutely not a joke. April is a really intense month. It is very impactful. On my, so I'm about to, and your listeners are hearing this first, I'm about to launch a monthly membership on my website. And I'm
Woohoo!
doing monthly and weekly breakdowns. And so I'm really working with April before I launch. I'm going to hard launch in May, but I wanted to do a kind of practice run. So I'm calling this month Destiny Beckons. And it really
Mm.
does. It really does. All the stuff happening this month. There's two retrogrades. Venus, our love, our joy, our pleasure. Mercury, our mind, our thoughts, our ideas, and also our commerce. Those two are retrograde. So there's a lot of backtracking. There's a
Hmm.
lot of nostalgia. There's a lot of ruining the past or of wanting to get back to something and trying to figure out exactly how you want to move forward when these two planets station direct and how
Mm.
you want to make it real, right? How you want to actually implement that in the physical with Saturn sextiling Uranus and Mars sextiling Uranus after it has just finished its retrograde that it only does every 2 years. So this month, Mars is trining Saturn, Mars being our action, movement, doing, Saturn being our social commitments, our burdens, our struggles. But Saturn enters its retrograde shadow early in the month. So that tells me that whatever we're working on now, it's not the last we've heard from this
Mm.
area of the zodiac. I want everyone, though, to mark out the dates April 7th and April 12th. Because on April 7th, Mercury stations direct. If you want to launch something, this is why I'm not launching it. If you want to launch something, if you want to send that email or make that application or do the thing and initiate it, don't do it till April 7th.
Yes.
Especially if you want it to work out or you want to make money. Mercury stations direct in Pisces. And then on April 12th, we have a full moon in Libra, and Libra is one of Venus's signs. Venus will station direct in Pisces on April 12th. So the first half of April, I think, is a retrospective. The second half of April is like, okay, given all the daydreaming and the reminiscing, how do I pull that energy forward and make my life something that I'm really sort of enchanted by and excited about? Especially because Mercury will enter Aries or re-enter Aries right as Venus is stationing direct. And when Mercury gets into Aries, it's going to link up with Neptune, which just got there. So we're going to start Neptune dreaming, Mercury's mind, about what's next, the next cycle, all the next stuff. And on the same day, April 17th, Mars, our principle of action, re-enters Leo. Mars has been in Cancer for an uber long time, stationed direct there. It's been doing a retrograde since September, October of 2023. It's been in the same area. And this represents the end of that. And right as that's happening, we will have Taurus season happening. But we are also moving into a Mars-Pluto opposition that perfects at the end of the month. So, translation, struggle bus. Struggle bus. And this aspect was perfecting as well right before the election.
Yeah.
And now it's coming back for the second time. And the weird thing about it is that Mars will be in Leo, the sign of the self, and Pluto will be in Aquarius, the sign of the collective. So there's this thing where like the self and the collective are at odds. It's kind of like the self, everybody individually has their own trajectory, their own desires, their own way of going about life. And whatever is happening in the collective is just fucking it up. It's not helpful. And listen, we all know people with businesses right now, and everybody's seeing what's going on, and they're like, "Oh my God, tariffs, profit margins, inflation."
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh. I'm not laughing at you people.
But hey, I'm there. I'm like, yo, even my profit margins are going down. Tariffs don't affect astrology.
I
But when
know.
people have less money to spend, they
They don't
spend less
spend it on
money.
us. Exactly. Exactly.
Right. And that's all going to go down right before we have a new moon. And that new moon is square to both Mars and Pluto. And I think a lot of it's kind of like a challenge. It's like, hey, so stuff is hard. Now what? Like, what are you going to do? You, not everybody else. What are you going to do? And not only what are you going to do, what can you start now that's sustainable? Given the crazy climate, what can you do? Like, I get with this new moon in Taurus, almost like joy as a rebellion. Almost like, you know what? I'm going to savor every second of whatever this is, despite all the reasons why I shouldn't. And I feel like that's going to be really refreshing. And then later in the month, the last thing that happens in April is that Venus re-enters Aries. So she moves out of her favorite sign. She's in Pisces almost all of April. That's a sign of her exaltation. It's her best work, her loveliest place. So we get through the hard stuff this month because we have.
Oh, are you there?
Because even if you're sick, the spoonful of sugar comes with the medicine. You're like, okay, fine. I will get through it. And there's going to be a little sweetness. But once Venus enters Aries, like it's on. That's Mars's sign. She's hot. She's ready to go and she is making moves. So then we get to May. And in May, Venus is in Aries, real fresh, real hot. She's connecting with Neptune. And it's kind of like, okay, what can I imagine given the shitty reality or given the just problematic reality I'm faced with? How can I imagine better? Like, given what's true, how can I excite myself about waking up tomorrow? Like,
Hmm.
how can I pump myself up, gas myself up, my friends, like my community? What can we celebrate for real? And we have Uranus sextiling the North Node at the same time. And this is the crazy part. Uranus will be right on top of Algol, one of the most fearsome stars. And I'm getting this vibe of like the heads rolling, like the French Revolution style, like guillotine.
Yeah.
Like we've had enough. We've had enough of this. And we're going to start chopping people's heads off. And I say we, the collective.
Yeah.
But of course, the collective is of individuals, and we as the collective are going to start taking the opportunity to speak our piece and to cut off any, like to sort of stop any initiatives that we're against by just cutting them off at the neck, being like, nope, try again. And it's interesting because at the same time, Mars will leave its retrograde shadow. So Mars has been retrograde for, like I said, I mean, all fall, all this time. Mars usually takes 2 months-ish, maybe less. It's like, 7 weeks to
Yeah.
go through a sign. And when it's retrograde, I mean, what? Since September, it's been in Aries and Leo. That's like 6 months
Jeez.
of being in the same place. So it kind of disrupts us. So Mars finally gets out of the place where it's already been. So we get to do new stuff, break new ground, tread new territory. And everybody loves that, right? Because Mars is in Leo, and Leo is the sign of the sun. It's the sign of the personality, of the personal. So each of us individually gets to make more progress
Nice.
than we've been making. And it's really cool too, because then Pluto stations retrograde. So it's like whatever it is that we start asserting as a personal collective,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like the whole establishment or the whole powers that be are like, whoa, whoa, all right, we're going to have to contend with these folks. So I like that.
I do too.
And then
One can only hope that that's the way we're going, Rachel.
hey, there's a lot between there, but the next thing that really happens is Mercury will enter Taurus. And when Mercury enters Taurus,
Mm.
it's nice because Mercury in Aries is kind of like very direct, very forceful, very bold, very it can be kind of like words that poke,
Mm-hmm.
Mars words, like fighting words. But
Harsh.
Mercury will enter Taurus where it's like, all right, we're going to talk slow and we're going to tell you exactly how it is in plain English and with all the love in the world.
Mm.
But it's intentional and it's growth oriented and it's clear and it's grounded. And then we get a full moon in Scorpio.
Ooh.
Full moon in Scorpio is a full moon in Mars' sign. It's always a bit of a rough moon. It's the moon in its fall.
Yeah.
I feel like this one is coming to kind of make us understand the implications of transformation. Like we're all going through this really big alchemical process as individuals and as a collective this year, given all the change.
Mm-hmm.
So this full moon is like a check-in where it's like, hey, shit is in the middle. Like you're in the middle of the chrysalis phase of your butterfly self. How you feeling, little soup caterpillar? There. You're
Yeah.
gonna do a glow up soon, but like you're in the middle of the kind of ghastly, gnarly part of it.
Yeah.
And after that, Venus will finally leave her retrograde shadow. She gets past the territory she's already covered in mid-May, May 16th. So okay, now we're all ready. Mercury's out of its shadow, Mars is out of its shadow, Venus is out of its shadow. So now new stuff. Like May 16th, everything it gets to be new, everything gets to be forward progress. And the sun will conjoin Uranus, shake us up a little bit. There'll be some really interesting kind of communications between Jupiter and the nodes. We'll enter Gemini season. which is
Mm.
exciting. Lighten
Hmm.
the mood a little bit, especially because Mars and Pluto are opposing in Leo and Aquarius, and that's square to all the
Mhm.
Taurus stuff, so a bit tense. But once the Sun enters Gemini, it's like, oh, fine. Oh, we don't have to be so serious. It's not about establishing growth and solid structures. It's more about, throwing shit against the wall and seeing if it sticks.
Yeah.
And then, we get Mercury conjoining Uranus. And I'm excited for late May. Late May is going to shake everything up. Really, I don't want to say rattle the foundation, but it's going to, if you haven't been satisfied with everything in your life by late May, don't worry. There is new coming. There is change coming, new ideas. Saturn will enter Aries on May 24th. Whoa, that's going to be crazy because Saturn will enter Aries and connect with Neptune immediately.
Oof.
Saturn Neptune is wild. It's really stranger than fiction. Saturn is the establishment, the law, the structure, the commitment. And Neptune is the nebulous, the consciousness, the awareness, the dissolution. And so when Saturn and Neptune come together, things that were established and structured will sometimes just disappear. My
Hmm.
favorite version of this was in the last time this happened, Saturn Neptune connection, was in 1989. And it was when the Berlin Wall
I was
fell.
going to say that's when the Berlin Wall fell and the USSR was disassembled.
Exactly. That's Saturn Neptune, like archetypally. It's exactly how it is. Something that was solid, was the ruler, was the body, was the official Saturn. All of a sudden, Neptune just dissolves, and one day the wall is gone. And some guy accidentally talks about it on TV and says people can cross, and then all of a sudden, people are crossing everywhere, and they're breaking
Mm-hmm.
down the wall themselves.
Mm-hmm. I remember
It's
when that
that kind of
happened.
a vibe. Ah! Well,
Yeah.
that's happening again.
Hmm.
Proverbially, though, this is happening. So Saturn and Neptune now are in the sign of Aries. And when Saturn and Neptune are in Aries, the last time, just for reference to everybody, that Neptune entered Aries was legitimately one day after Neptune entered Aries was the beginning of the Civil War.
Wow.
So it's a bit more Mars. It's a bit more pugilist than that Saturn Neptune. I think the one Saturn Neptune in 89, it was in Capricorn, which makes sense with a wall, right?
Yeah.
Capricorn, Earth, right? There's a wall that crumbles. This is more internal, personal, and it's physical. It's maybe even people will start doing things, practices, movement wise, health wise, that they've never done before. And it's going to kind of, okay, Lauren, this is going to sound, and for your listeners, if this sounds like Greek to you, don't worry about it. But Kundalini awakenings.
Yes.
You have a Kundalini awakening. You have an awakening of energy inside the body that runs up and down the spine. And all of a sudden, physically, things feel crazy. You're like,
Mm-hmm.
whoa, what's going on up and down my midline?
Yeah.
And it seems like, okay, right, a spiritual thing can't be that physical, right? Wrong.
Notice how I
Yeah,
laugh.
exactly. Exactly. The type of laugh, you know. But this reminds me of a personal or collective Kundalini awakening where it's like,
Woo!
whoa, what has been going on for the last
Woo!
little bit?
I literally have chills up and down my body as you're speaking this, so confirmation.
Yes. Well, we're going to have help because Mercury will enter Gemini, its home sign, one day after this happens. So if we
Hmm.
all start having a Kundalini awakening, we'll have a very sharp mind to figure it out with.
Oh, God bless.
Definitely.
Well, Kundalini
Especially
awakenings
because,
people can be a little intense, so hold on.
oh, hell yeah.
You've got this.
So intense. So intense. We have a new moon in Gemini the day after that happens. So Mercury's in Gemini. We have a new moon in early Gemini. Saturn's fresh in Aries. So that new moon is like, all right, here's the new landscape. Like everything in April, like when I'm talking to you right now, everything's in Pisces. Everything will be in Earth signs soon. Taurus stuff's coming.
Wow.
If we're talking in late May, not at all. Nothing's in water signs, just Saturn. No, Saturn will be in Aries. Excuse me, nothing. North Node is in a water sign. Everything else is in a fire or an air sign. So we are totally shifting. We're not internal. We're not feeling, sensing. We are talking. We are communicating. We are changing. We are alchemizing. We're getting animated about. And then we move into June. And in June, we have like, y'all, on the calendar, if I could just take a month and put my arms around it and be like, this one, this is the best one. It's June. The best
Yes.
one, for sure.
Yes, I'm
Because
excited about it
Venus will
now.
enter Taurus. Venus enters Taurus on June 5th, and that's her favorite sign. Things will feel better. I don't know what's happening in June, but we feel better about it. We're enjoying. Like Venus in Taurus is savoring. We're savoring. And then a couple of days later on June 8th, Mercury will conjoin Jupiter at 29 Gemini. Because Jupiter and Mercury are about to change signs. On June 8th, Mercury enters Cancer, and on June 9th, Jupiter enters Cancer. It's significant because Jupiter loves Cancer.
Feelings.
Cancer is, oh yeah, and it loves it because it's the sign of the moon, but Jupiter there is the best at taking care. So Jupiter in Cancer cooks the best meals. Jupiter in Cancer reads the best bedtime story. Jupiter in Cancer has the best spiritual work and meditations, all of that. But here's what I want to tell everybody. While I'm talking to you right now, while we're on this podcast, we have the sun in Aries. I've been pumped about that because the sun in Aries is the only planet in the sky with any dignity, any power, period. I know. Venus is in Pisces, so she's exalted, so she has power too. But that wasn't true a while ago. So this year, it's been really difficult. The planets have been in really hard places up until April. There's been legitimately no dignity in the sky. So right now, as we're talking, sun's exalted, Venus is exalted. Love that. That's excellent. Venus is retrograde, so there's also that. But in June, we will have Venus in Taurus, Jupiter in Cancer. That means both benefics, Jupiter and Venus, that bring us cash, prizes, good things, happy things. They're going to be rocking out. And we love that. Like,
Heck
I'm
yeah.
stoked because it means something good is going to happen. Something good.
We're rising above
Or
the
at least,
chaos.
yes, or like somehow enjoying stuff in spite of.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like soaking up some form of goodness. And then we have a full moon in Sag, which is a party. We love a good full moon in Sag. Sag is the party, so we're going to hang out there. There is a Mars square Uranus transit mid-June, which tells me there might be like some kind of disruption to regular programming, maybe some little, like I say some little, it's not little, but some little disruption, some war, some happening. I don't know what the happening would be, but something that changes stuff. Some disruption that changes things significantly. And then we get my favorite part of June as well. I say my favorite. I have a few favorites. Venus and Taurus, Jupiter and Cancer. June 17th, we get Mars entering Virgo. Y'all,
Ooh.
this is the first time that Mars has been in a sign that is not Cancer or Leo since September of 24. And Mars in Virgo has what we call triplicity rulership. Translation, it can get you done. It has tools, it has resources, specifically mental resources
Yeah.
in Virgo's case. But that puts Mars in a place where it has dignity. So a lot of our planets are just in much better places in June. And if you want to start anything, initiate a project, or like if there's some maybe home improvement work or writing that you've been trying to do, know that in June you're going to get a big, big boost. Mars will help you, and everyone will be happy about that. Then we have the summer solstice, longest day of the year. Love that for everyone. It's always a celebration. The sun enters Cancer.
It's always a good
We have
time.
some really interesting stuff though then in my mind, because the sun enters Cancer, hooray, but then it will square the Saturn Neptune, both of them in early Aries. So this tells me there's going to be some late June, there's going to be some escalation.
Hmm.
And I don't know if the escalation is going to be in, global warfare, or if it's going to be in personal, spiritual attainment.
Yeah.
It likely will be both. But then the sun will conjoin Jupiter on June 24th. So that tells me whatever it is, it's not bad. It's a sun conjunct exalted Jupiter. Like it's good.
Yeah.
Maybe if something starts, kind of like the French Revolution, it'll be like, no more of this. We're done with this bullshit. And we all have gathered together and collectively we feel like we want X.
Yeah.
So that's my hope. Because right after the sun conjoins Jupiter, we have a new moon, and it's 1 degree from Jupiter. So I'm like, okay, June 25th, all of y'all, this is my favorite moon of the whole year. Like any of the moons, full or new, all of them, every single one. This is my favorite. June 25th, new moon in Cancer, conjoined exalted Jupiter. Y'all, it's gonna feel so good. It's gonna feel so good. If you're trying to plan something that you want to just go really well, or
Hmm.
for it to feel good or mean something, do it then. Do it then. Take your vacation then. Because the moon rules Cancer, Jupiter exalts in Cancer, and then the sun's there. And so June 25th should just be like a lovely, lovely lunation. I'm super happy about it. And
Yeah.
then the rest of the month, it's not too much. Mercury enters Leo. It will trine the Saturn Neptune in Aries, and it will oppose Pluto. So I think that part of this is, when you can have a moment to yourself, like when you have a small vacation or a meditation, and then you decide, like when you go back to quote unquote regular life, you're like, you know what? I'm not going to actually go back to regular
Yeah.
life. I'm gonna make some changes because I liked this. Like, I need more of time off, or I need more working at home, or I need more, hours in the yoga studio, whatever it is. That's
Hmm.
kind of the end of June, is like we have this time period that's pretty beautiful. And we're like, all right, okay, so let's not go back to regular life after vacation. Let's maybe just resign from our job and find a new
Yeah.
one, right? And that brings us to July. So July, of course, starts really kicking off on July 4th, as it would, because the United States is definitely part of the chaos this year. And on July 4th, Venus conjoins Uranus in the last degree of Taurus, and Neptune stations retrograde on July 4th.
Oh,
To
that's a
me,
lot.
this says, and y'all, I'm not trying to call this, and this is, listen, if you're listening to this podcast, if you're one of Lauren's listeners, I know you're a real one. I know you'll let me say this and not like blow me up or anything on social media. If there's any upcoming terrorist attack, it's this day.
Yeah. Well, it's
But it's
funny.
somebody who means well.
It's funny, Rachel, because that has been what, for like 15 years, the one day that everybody picks to show terrorist attack of some sort.
Yeah, right?
Like all the
Right?
big
No,
movies that show you anything from robots to aliens to, I mean, all of to war, it's always on July 4th.
and life imitates art, y'all. So I
Always.
really feel like it could happen. this
I mean,
day.
that sucks, but it's wild that it's lining up astrologically. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and this is gonna sound weird, but I feel like this one is probably domestic terrorism, if there's
Mm-hmm.
any. As in, like,
Mm-hmm.
we're not worried about foreign adversaries in the United States here. It's more like somebody who can't, who is convicted, as in, whatever's going on right now in X sector is wrong. So I'm going to
Kind of
do
like that
this.
shooter Luigi. That
Luigi
kind,
Mangione,
yeah,
exactly.
that
This is
kind of
wrong.
energy.
Hmm. Totally, totally that kind
Mm-hmm.
of energy. But then 3 days later, we get one of the big highlights of the whole period of time, April to September, that we're talking about. And we have Uranus, the planet of shock, change, disruption, and innovation, entering Gemini. Now, this is significant because Uranus entering Gemini has been traditionally very intense in the United States.
Oh.
And I mean, Uranus is not as slow as Neptune. Uranus takes about 7 years
Mm-hmm.
to go through a sign. It takes 84 to get around the whole zodiac. But 84 years ago was World War II in
Mm-hmm.
the US and everywhere, I guess, everywhere. And 84 years before that was the Civil War.
Yeah.
And 84 years before that was the Revolutionary War.
Wow.
So, translation, not chill, not
No.
chill. I'm not sure how this will, I'm hoping that we don't have a physical war, but it could even be something online with Uranus and Gemini, especially as these Pluto's entered Aquarius, right? So
Mm-hmm.
Uranus, when it enters Gemini, will be trining that Pluto. It's kind of more like war in a new space, new types of attacks. I think cyber attack kind of thing, cyber war feels
Mm-hmm.
really right with me in this. I mean, no one likes cyber war, don't get me wrong. All of our information is online. Like
Yeah.
it could be a really big thing, but instead of them cutting the undersea cables, it would be more of like hacking, cyber attack, just like things in the air.
Yeah.
Anyway, I would also expect some positive stuff. So like new social media platforms or maybe some kind of trend or craze to sweep the United States, like the next big show or movie, kind of like Harry Potter, right? Where like everybody was like, oh my God, this.
Mm-hmm.
Something where
Mm-hmm.
everybody's swept up in this big change or big innovation. And then we get a full moon in Capricorn. Capricorn is not an easy sign for the moon, so I'm guessing whatever was happening earlier in July, we're kind of all not recovering from it. We're trying to Capricorn grit our teeth and bear it and just
Mm.
get through it and
Yeah.
build upon it or like fix it, definitely.
Stay on the
And then we're
upside.
definitely going to, oh, exactly, exactly. But whatever it is, we are going to have to go back. Like there's going to be some repair, some something, repair, restoration, um,
Restructure.
rejuvenation. Yeah, Oh, restructure is the best word because we have Saturn stationing retrograde on July 13th at the first degree of Aries. And then we have Mercury stationing retrograde for its next retrograde on July 18th at 15 degrees of Leo. So what I find notable is that both these retrogrades are stationing in fire signs. And fire signs deal with spirit. They deal with belief. So there's going to be some reckoning about what do we believe?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm.
given what we believe, how do we make this more fair? How do we structure this with these changes to our beliefs or with this
Mm.
new environment? And I know we're doing something really important. We're doing it because Mars will conjoin the North Node, the South Node on July 20th. So we're releasing something. We're letting something go, and that's personally and collectively. Where it's like, you know what? I say for me, Mars conjunct the South Node is just like the words no,
Mm-hmm.
no. I say no. I refuse. I will not, collect $200. I will not pass go. I'm just not going to. I'm not. Then the
I
sun
mean,
enters
no.
Leo. Yeah, no, I mean no. No is a complete sentence, and I said it. No. So the sun enters Leo on July 22nd. We have a new moon in Leo, like a hot second after July 24th at 2 degrees of Leo, and the sun will be opposite Pluto while that happens. So I think there's some kind of realization. It's kind of like where the rubber meets the road, but it's kind of like the individual looking at the collective and being like, ah, okay,
Yeah.
okay. So this is where we're at, like checking in, checking in. Then Venus will enter Cancer, July 30th. And Venus in Cancer, it's a place she's very comfortable. She's more comfortable than Gemini. Venus entered Gemini, if I didn't say it, on July 4th as well. So Venus entering Cancer, it's like Venus in Cancer is the sous chef, is the nurse, is the mother, is the very caretaker, very loving in the way of service
Mm-hmm.
and of anticipating needs. And so I think that we're going to be a bit more emo. Whatever's going on, we get emo at the end of July in the best way. And then the sun conjoins Mercury at 9 Leo. So we have a Mercury Cazimi. So something becomes clear as well. Something becomes very clear. And then we get to August. And in August, we have Venus in Cancer squaring the Saturn Neptune in Aries. So that tells me that we're going to be at a crossroads, like with our hearts, with our feelings. There might be something that we feel like obliged to do,
Uh-huh.
or something that we feel is like a change of heart, maybe a change of heart, or where, after a certain event happens, like people take away from it different things. Some
Yeah.
people take away empowerment. Some people take away trauma. This is
Mm-hmm.
kind of like, what are you taking away from this event? And it could be either one, or, the whole spectrum of feelings. But we're definitely feeling the Saturn Neptune retrograde. Then Mars will enter Libra. Y'all, August 6th, Mars enters Libra. Mars does not like Libra. Not a good place for it. So
You
if you're
mean,
trying to get anything done, do it
you mean
before August 6th.
frustration and balance doesn't equal out?
You said it so well. Yeah, if I'm constantly having to consider both sides, my Mars is going to be harder to achieve,
Yeah.
for sure.
Exactly.
Especially because, girl, 2 days later, Mars opposes Saturn. Saturn's in Aries. So when Mars enters Libra, it's the Mars-Saturn opposition.
Oof.
And that's kind of like Mars opposite to Saturn is what I want to do, Mars, or what I need to do. And Saturn is like, except no, you can't.
Mm-hmm.
And Mars is like, well, I'll just cut my losses and run. And Saturn is like, but you're not allowed. You can't go anywhere. Your passport's been canceled. Yeah. So you're kind of running up into that problem. And I feel like for August, for me, people need to let go of the need to achieve or get something done, or, finish. Specifically, the need to finish. It might not happen. It might not happen. That's okay.
Yeah.
You can work hard, and what needs to happen will happen. We have a full moon in Aquarius that happens on August 9th. And that, I think, will give us kind of a feeling about how everybody's doing, kind of a check-in with everybody collectively. And Mars will be opposing Neptune. It was opposite Saturn the day before, opposing Neptune the day after. And Mars opposite Neptune, I think we're going to be learning a little bit about the paradigm shift. And I say the paradigm shift. When Neptune and Saturn conjoin in Aries, some of those times are really exciting. Like in the years 500 AD, that was when Mars and Saturn, Rachel, no more Mars. Neptune and Saturn conjoined in early Aries around the same degrees. And that was when democracy was invented. That was when Pythagoras was running around. Buddhism was being founded. Like there was a lot of thinkers thinking very differently and destroying the previously established social order through
Mm.
their own individual Aries ideas. So that we might have some totally brand new thinkers that are challenging everybody's paradigm at this time. I say brand new. It could be people we know. It could be somebody we already in the collective, but someone is introducing ideas that really make change
Stepping up to
in
the plate with
August.
something different.
hmm And then we see progress because Mercury will station direct 2 days later in Leo. And it's important to note that Mercury will station direct within 1 degree of where Mars stationed retrograde earlier in the year.
Hmm.
So, sorry, not earlier in the year, last year, but then it's that same charged area in early Leo where there's something about who we are and what we're doing that's really important because everything early Leo is opposite to Pluto. So Mercury stationing direct opposite Pluto is kind of like speaking truth to power.
Yeah.
Then we have another Saturn sextile Uranus on the same day. So maybe there are a lot of protests, maybe a lot of uprisings, unionization of some kind, because Venus is conjoining Jupiter just the day after in Cancer. So this reminds me of like Mothers Against Drunk Driving, where like there have been enough people, like enough is enough. We're
Yeah.
going to band together and be like, no, we want better. We want good things. And we're all the moms saying, yes, something good is coming from this.
Nice.
And then we have the sun entering Virgo in mid-August, August 22nd. We have a new moon at 0 degrees of Virgo. So I feel like we're going to get a really interesting like reset, a reset in the revisiting how we even think of that area of the zodiac.
Uh-huh.
So for Virgo, it's about Mercury. What do we think about things? How are we taking in information, Virgo, and making it meaningful? Like, what do we think about all the news? What do we think about everything that's going on with our families? What do we think about social media? What does
Yeah.
that mean? And then Venus enters Leo. And so in terms of putting your heart out there or like being courageous or being strong, that's totally it. Venus in Leo is definitely, if she were in the Harry Potter novels and was sorted, the sorting hat would be in Gryffindor, 100%. So we get that Gryffindor vibe. And then we have another really big transit at the end of August where Uranus, that shock, change-making, innovative planet, will sextile Neptune, the consciousness expanding awareness planet of also confusion and dreams. And to me, this is a big opportunity.
Yeah.
This is a big opportunity. Neptune's retrograde. It's kind of like, hey, what do you need to change, Uranus, in order to achieve the dreams you've had, Neptune retrograde? What do you need to change? What about specifically your mindset do you need
Yeah.
to change? So
It's
I think
almost
it's
like
going
an
to be
energy, like almost an energy of waking up.
yes, precisely, precisely of an energy of waking up. And that will lead us into the Saturn retrograde. It starts in September. And Saturn re-enters, Saturn's been retrograde. Saturn's re-entry into Pisces. But I think that August and July will be months of some big shift,
Mm-hmm.
big shift. And I think when we talk later, I'm going to meet you in the latter half of the year and we're going to be like in totally, completely different places
I know it's going to be
than we are now.
amazing. I think that's one of the
hmm
my most favorite things of having you on, like halfway through, because we can go back and see all the spots that you've talked about and how the changes have made, talk about it, and then look at what's coming forward. It's just,
hmm
it really is going to be interesting, especially this year.
100%. And I mean, this year is the big change making year. Every planet changes signs. That's crazy. It's huge,
It is.
for sure.
And for those that don't know, the new year astrologically starts on April 1st this year.
The
So,
sun entering Aries, the sun entering Aries, it's a big deal. And when it happens, it's always that zodiacal reset. And
mhm,
for us right now too, we have that really interesting Neptune transition, which kind of totally brings a new perspective to the beginning of the astrological year.
mhm, mhm. It really truthfully does.
And Neptune governs things like fame. It governs things like illusion and enlightenment. So I think people are going to be deluded. They're going to be, enlightened, transcending. They're going to be like, people are going to be all over the spectrum. Like you can be totally confused or you can be on one absolutely with the wisdom.
Mhm.
Depends.
Hmm. Wow.
It depends. It's a
And
lot. It is a lot.
it is a lot. But I mean, it sounds, I think for many years, at least for two on here, we've been talking about 2025 astrology in particular. And it's kind of like you said, the moment that this is the moment. Like, this is what everybody's been talking about. It's the crumbling of one way to build up of a new way.
I
And
couldn't have said it better.
even though that crumbling is happening, no matter what side you're on, no matter what you feel, it is happening. Like there's no way to go about it. It is happening. And for those that are out there listening, just hang tight, because anything that crumbles, any kind of tower moment, always has to rebuild. And you always look back on it and say, that happened for a reason. You know what I mean? Like, not any time that crumbling has happened has it not happened for a reason. So,
And for everybody too, this year, what I love is it doesn't look like me versus you or red versus blue. It looks like the populace versus the plutocracy.
mhm.
And I'm
And
in.
that's
Like that to
refreshing.
me feels easier. Yeah. I'm like,
That,
all right, that's like fine. Like all of us, like we're fighting the power.
yeah, I mean, that's so refreshing because it takes it away from the division aspect of it into like the powerful aspect of it.
Right. And maybe then we'll come together.
Yeah, I mean, one can dream. One can hope.
We have to we have to live in hope.
Yes. Yes. So what is your biggest um takeaway from this part of the astrological cycle for the collective,
As in Q1 or for the time period we talked about?
the time period that we talked about?
Oh, stuff is changing. But change can be both hard and easy.
Mm-hmm.
We have Jupiter being in its very, 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 very best place. Most cash, most prizes, most meaning. We have Saturn being in one of its worst places. We have so hard for me personally. I have to learn lessons and it's difficult to like, I'm my own worst enemy.
Mm-hmm.
And those can both be true at the same time.
Yeah.
Neptune's entering Aries. We have that Saturn Neptune stuff. So sometimes it's like, I think that we're going to all realize with the Saturn Neptune stuff, but there's that aphorism, perception is reality. But
Mm-hmm.
it's more like, no, the story I tell myself is literally creating physical reality in front of me. It structures my belief system. It changes the synapses and connections in my brain. What
Yeah.
I think is happening ends up being what's happening.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so it's kind of like that emotional and spiritual hygiene.
Oh, I love that.
And we have the
Emotional.
power to choose because Jupiter and Saturn both deal with our membership in society.
Mm-hmm.
Jupiter with, all the benefits and perks we get by being part of a group, and Saturn being all the difficulties and challenges we face by being part of a group. And so you have both the best of the good and some of the hardest of the bad. And you can kind of focus on one, both. You both will be there. There'll be this gamut and spectrum. So you won't be able to say everything sucks because it doesn't. You
Yeah.
won't be able to say everything is great because it's not. But that kind of will allow you to feel a whole range and then decide what you want to do with it.
Mm. I
I think
love
that'll
it.
be good for everybody. We're growing up. We're all growing up.
We're all growing up. Look at us go. Look at us.
I know it's especially your sweet son, and I've got two
Oh,
stepkids. They're definitely growing up way too fast all the time.
I know.
But no, all of us at once. We're coming of age, and there's a new age. We knew it when Pluto entered Aquarius. Listen, I don't do the age of Aquarius stuff. People are going on about that. The only reason they were going on about that is because we've reached a part in the cycle where Jupiter and Saturn are doing their conjunctions for the next 200 years in air signs.
Mm-hmm.
So the way that we talk about things, the way we communicate, the way we understand, the way we think, that's what's really changing. Our paradigms are changing. And this year, I don't want to say let it, but just like notice the shifts in your own thinking and be an author, not necessarily just a passive reader.
Nice way to put that, Rach. Be
Well,
the
thanks.
author, not just the reader. It is up to you on what path you're going to take. And at this
I
point,
know you know, published author.
you too, Mama. You too.
Mm-hmm.
um, Thank you for saying that because, I think sometimes people get into the doom and gloom and they don't realize that once they step out and like really surround themselves about what they want to create, that the power is within themselves, that
You
you
snapping. Mm-hmm.
do it. You know what I mean? You can do it. You can choose every day to wake up and live in the doom and gloom of the crazy shit that's happening. Or you can choose every day to wake up and say, okay, I'm going to have a good day. I'm going to do the best that I can and put out good intentions. I'm not saying spiritually bypass, like everything's great all the time. Like you said, you have to have
Mm.
balance. But, it is our choice on how we're going to make it through because we can't really change anything except how we handle the situations that we're put through, right?
100%. And I think that that's part of the Saturn and Aries stuff is realizing, recognizing I can't control anyone but myself. As
Mm-hmm.
in, I legitimately cannot. It's a facade of control.
Mm-hmm.
But governing myself, like sovereignty, is an important thing to think about. The idea of being able to give oneself a command and follow it, cultivating discipline. These things aren't easy, but it makes you so strong and it
Mm-hmm.
makes you able to build more than just to build something real,
Yeah.
to build something real when you can really be uh, committed, when you can spend time. One thing I love is that Saturn and Venus, people think they don't have anything in common, struggles and loves, but Saturn exalts in Libra, which is Venus's sign, and Venus, the sign of Libra, reminds us that justice, balance, equity, these things exist on a scale that's constantly tipping in directions. It's a fine-tuned sort of a balance. And that devotion is a
Mm-hmm.
very Saturn Venus thing. Like practice. If you're practicing an instrument, if you're practicing a craft, an art, if you're studying something, it's your daily constant application, Saturn, the commitment to actually spend your time, Saturn, loving on and studying something, Venus, that allows you to be a virtuoso at
Yeah.
whatever it is. And that is your, like, there is a bigger connection, I think, between discipline and restraint, like between those and then beauty and joy than we ever think. And this year, I think we'll kind of put that on spotlight as well.
Well, I'm excited about it. I'm, I,
Me
I'm, a,
too.
I'm a little nervous because there's a little chaos coming. Well, but I feel like we're in the chaos right now. So like,
Oh,
It's
girl,
gonna,
we were already through the hardest parts of the year. Like,
yeah.
I would say January through April were the hardest parts of the year.
Hence the reason why we skipped those 3 months.
Yeah.
We're like, we'll come back on April 1st.
April Fools. It's over.
Woohoo! Well, thank you so much, sister. Is there anything else that you want to put out there? I know we'll bring you back on to discuss what mid-September that eclipse season starts over again and finish out the year through December.
No, just if people want to hear more, I put out a daily show on TikTok and Instagram called the Astrology Roadshow, where I go over the
Mm.
transits of the day. So if you want to make sure you get every little bit and you're like, hey, I can't remember all the dates you just said, subscribe, watch me daily, and then you'll be aware.
It's so good. She's like my morning when I'm drinking my coffee. That's what I listen to. I love your show. And again, I want you to tell them about the membership because you're just now launching this and we touched on it, but tell them a little bit more and what all that includes.
Totally fair. So if you want to be on the list for my pre-launch membership, there's going to be a best rate for this membership. Email me at rachelruthtate@gmail.com. Of course, everything is Rachel Ruth Tate, but it will be in addition to those free daily videos with the daily astrology. I'm going to be doing a monthly coaching horoscope. So think me on a soapbox telling you about the astrology and how you can make it work for your life.
Who I
And
love.
then weekly videos, really just doing the weekly horoscope, what to expect day by day. I will have rising sign success kits. So no matter what rising sign you are, I've got a mantra for you. I've got a sort of keying into which parts of your chart, which parts of your life the astrology of the month will impact. And then there's a private members only Discord so that you can talk about astrology with people who will not think you're a little nuts. They'll just think you're awesome and they'll talk back. So that is launching officially on May 1st. But if you send me that email, then I will get you into the pre-launch, which launches April 7th when Mercury goes direct. And I will start adding folks to that membership, and you will be able to see all those videos for this month too.
I'm so excited about that membership. So
Me too,
excited.
girl. It's been a long time in the making, and I was like, oh, not me, I can't. And then all the astrology of now is like, no, you have to.
No, you are. You're doing this. You don't have a choice.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, thank you, sister, for getting on with me again, Rachel. Y'all go listen to her, Rachel Ruth Tate, everywhere, everything, all the things. And
Yes. I love
use
you
that
so much.
code if you would like your own. Use the code I love you so she can give you the nice little discount. I love you so much. Thank you again for hopping on. It's always a pleasure. My listeners, I always get the best feedback with you. So I am grateful for you and for our friendship.
I'm grateful for you. The biggest joy and privilege ever.
And we will talk to you next week, guys, with Get in Line with me, Lauren Scott.